Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, and it's Monday, which means it's time for another one of our weekly viewer specials. For those of you who are new to the channel, or just this series in particular, first of all, welcome. Glad to have you here. Second of all, what we do, here's a quick breakdown. What we do every week here on Monday is we showcase replays from you all, the viewers. That way, we have time to not only take a look at some strategies or archetypes, decks that I don't normally have time to get to, but of course, more than that, it's a way for us to come together, cheer each other on as we show off our cool builds and our awesome wins. So if you are interested in submitting a replay for the viewer special, you're going to want to check the description below. There's going to be an invite link to our Discord server, the Hexlexplex. Once you're under the Master Duel section, there is a channel called Viewer Special Submissions. There you can drop your 9-digit player ID, and then I can see your publicly saved replays. If there's one replay in particular you really want me to see among your saved ones, just make sure again that it's public and that you're leaving either like your opponent's name, the date and time, or a screenshot, something where I know that's what you want me to see. But that's everything that I have to say up top. Let's go ahead and get into some of your replays. Okay, our first game comes to us from Doc Maxis, who is on quite the pile deck here. For this duel, it's going to be a Duelist Cup game, so unfortunately I can't go into details and actually look at the deck list. However, Doc Maxis did provide a deck list in the Discord server, so I went ahead and grabbed a screenshot. We can take a look at that here. As you can see, we are on a 60-card pile deck featuring SPYRAl, Yummy, Dark Magician, and the new Mystical Space Typhoon deck, Radiant Typhoon. So very, very eager to see how this plays out. You all know just how much I love pile decks, and this is definitely a very piley deck. So let's jump right on in. Looks like we're going to be taking the first turn, so we're probably going to get to see this deck in all its power. Looks like we're going to be up against a Dogmatica / Regenesis deck. Okay. Been a while since I've seen that style of control deck. And looks like we did open a large portion of our SPYRAl engine, as well as some of the Dark Magician line. Magician Soul's going to send off the Dark Magician Girl, and then we're going to summon a Quick Fix for the SPYRAl Gear Big Red. Now we can link off the SPYRAl Quick Fix for the Link Karibo. And from here we can go Big Red in order to revive Quick Fix. I can see already how SPYRAl can very easily pivot into Yummy. We've got the Last Resort, and then we can use Souls to send off the Quick Fix in order to get a free draw. Sure enough, we are going to pivot into Yummy next, synchro summoning the Cupsy Yummy way, using Link Karibo plus Quick Fix. Now we can add the Cupsy Yummy and a Lollipo Yummy, and we're going to discard the SPYRAl Master Plan. From here, Cupsy Yummy is going to be special summoned, and then add the Yummy Surprise. Alright, here is Yummy Snatchy. That'll get to place the Mignon once it's summoned. And now Mignon can revive the Cupsy Yummy from our graveyard again. Looks like we're going to Synchro Summon for level 3 now. Cupsy Yummy Way plus Magician Souls, making the Shamisen, Samsara, Sorrow Cat. And we're going to make another level 2. Snatchy plus Cupsy Yummy is going to make the Lollipo Yummy Way. Alright, Lollipo Yummy Way gets to activate, reviving Cupsy Yummy and Cupsy Yummy Way. We're going to special summon the Lollipo Yummy in hand, and now we're going to Synchro Summon for level 4. It's going to be our Herald of the Arclight. And we're actually going to Synchro Summon that with the Sorrow Cat to make level 7 for the Ancient Fairy Dragon. Now, Ancient Fairy Dragon can pop our Mignon and get the SPYRAl Resort. So that's how we're going to bridge from Yummy back into SPYRAl. Now we can use Resort for Super Agent, and then we can actually summon the Drone with the Ancient Fairy Dragon. Sorrow Cat can revive by putting back the Herald of the Arclight, and then synchro with the Ancient Fairy Dragon to make a level 10, summoning the Baron de Fleur. Now Super Agent can be summoned, revealing our opponent's top card of deck to be Diviner of the Heralds. We're making a Link 2 now. It's the SPYRAl Double Helix. Double Helix effect gets to activate, declaring monster and reviving that Master Plan we sent earlier with the Cupsy Yummy Way. That'll add SPYRAl Mission Rescue, and now Quick Fix can discard Rescue to revive. Quick Fix effect will add another Gear Big Red from deck to hand. Now we're going to Link Summon Cupsy Yummy Way plus SPYRAl Master Plan into the SP Little Knight. That'll be placed under the Double Helix. Master Plan gets to activate, adding SPYRAl Sleeper and another copy of SPYRAl Resort. and the mission rescue that we sent earlier can be banished to revive Master Plan, which can yet again add another mission rescue from deck to hand. Oh, SPYRAL and its soft once returns, and the Master Plan, being a dark spellcaster that is level 6 or higher, can be banished to summon the Dark Magician of Destruction. That'll add the Gaze of Timaeus, then get linked off with Double Helix to make our Sprite Elf. Sprite Elf, in fact, gets to revive the Lollipo Yummy Way, and we can go Yummy Surprise in order to revive the Cupsy Yummy. Now we're going to synchro summon Lollipo Yummy, Cupsy Yummy, and Quick Fix to once again, for the second time, summon Herald of the Arclight. SPYRAL Sleeper gets to come down by banishing. And then it looks like we're going to end up popping our rescue with the Baron de Fleur. And I imagine Gaze is going to get activated here in a moment. Yep, during the opponent's draw phase. Now we can banish the Dark Magician of Destruction, or sorry, shuffle it back rather, not banish it, in order to summon the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So that's quite the end board we've got here. Elf is pointing not only to the Herald of the Arclight, which is acting as both a Floodgate and an Omnigate, but also the SPYRAL Sleeper, which has the ability to target a SPYRAL card you control and up to 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. On top of that, we have Little Knight and multiple Omni-Negates, again, not only the Herald, but also the Baron de Fleur and the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Very impressive setup with the SPYRAL package. Unfortunately, they've got a Lava Golem to take care of our Omni-Negates and a Kaiju for the Elf. Wow. Very unlucky for us, and yet we're still able to use Little Knight against their Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous as it's activating on summon. Now Ecclesia will still get to resolve, adding the Dogmata Matrix to continue a spell. Looks like they're pivoting into Regenesis, however, we're going to use Herald of the Arclight here in order to stop them from activating Regenesis. Alright, there goes that. Here's the Dogmata Matrix. We're able to use the SPYRAL Rescue mission here in order to revive the Super Agent. And then Super Agent can pop spell and trap cards, right? Am I misremembering that? Yeah, if this card is special summoned by the effect of a SPYRAL card, we can target their spell card and destroy it. Now they do still get to go for the Regenesis Archfiend here. It's going to add Regenesis Code. Regenesis Code summoning out the Sage from deck. And yet now we can go Sleeper when they go Dogmatic, oh my god, what's this card? Dogmatic Calamity. I see. Yeah, Sage gets to negate Sleeper. And they're going to send Enigmaster Packbit in order to ritual summon that White Knight of Dogmatica. Now Packbit gets to activate. It's going to push back the Kaiju, discarding the Diviner. But ultimately, they were not able to fully break our board. In fact, we still have quite a few cards left on our board. Lava Golem's going to burn us for 1,000. Looks like they're going to go for the White Knight effect, and we can use Little Knight on the Regenesis Sage. On top of that, we're going to use Sleeper on the remaining cards. Alright, so now their field is clear. And it shouldn't be too much trouble for us to find the extra, 2200 damage that we need in order to go for lethal here. And our opponent seems to agree. They're going to end up conceding. Wow, that was a very intensive turn 1 combo line. Very, very good stuff. Thank you very much for that submission, Dr. Maxis. Of course, we still have a couple more to get into. Let's go into our next duel. Okay, this next duel comes to us from Watchdog, who is going to be on Jirak Fire King. Looks like we're going to be playing against Draco Tail. And let's see, I just had the replay a moment ago. It was this one. Here it is. So it's going to be a Duelist Cup game. Again, unfortunately not able to see deck lists here. But Jirak Fire King is a deck I actually have some recent experience against in one of the recent Deckmaster Cups. I don't remember exactly which one, but I remember playing against Jirak Fire King with my Snake Eye Yummy deck at some point recently. Alright, so we're going second, and we did not open any hand traps. Double Ponix, double Ulcanix is not ideal, but Skyburn is also not a terrible board breaker card going second, so that might not be too bad. Alright, they're going to go Ketu. They add Lucius, yeah, they added Lucius, and now they're going to add Malulu. Before fusing with Phimena, sending a bunch of Dracotail monsters, 3 of them from the hand, and summoning out the Arthelian. So this will let them trigger 3 different cards they can set, or rather, trigger 3 different effects to set cards. Our opponent definitely chain blocked in the reverse order, though. You're definitely supposed to do Arthelion and then your Dracotale monsters to play around Ghost Spell. Not that it really matters, you know, against us in this hand, but... Okay, so they added back Phimena and Malulu. They're gonna set Horn, Flame, and then Rahu, I imagine, right? Yep, sounds about right. Then they can go Rahu, send the Malulu, or Phimena, I guess, because they can just add it back with Orgola. You can add back whatever with Orgola. They sent Phyruxel from the deck to the graveyard, so that tells you they're probably on branded Dracotale. They're going to set Sting, and then, yeah, they're just going to use Orgola to add back Phimena. They've got a Magnum Hut as well. Okay, that's probably why they sent the Phyruxel. They're really bunching up their cards together, too, playing into effects that can affect a whole column. Also, adding Albaz is quite curious. I definitely usually want to keep that in deck. But anyway, our turn, we're going to find Ash Blossom right on time, of course. Ulcanex is going to pop the Ponix in hand. Now we can summon and grab the Sanctuary. Fire King Sanctuary gets to activate here. Our opponent's going to chain Dracotale Flame. We get to chain the Ash Blossom in response. And they're not going to use anything else just yet. Of course, we know they still have the Horn for bouncing an attack mode monster, as well as Sting for banishing monsters and spell traps from the graveyard. Alright, so we're going to go Kirin, popping Ulcanex, and then Garunix in hand gets to activate. Garunix is going to summon and then pop a card from deck once its effect resolves. There's old Garunix as well. New Garunix popping Kirin from deck. Kirin's going to activate. Horn on their own Magnum Hut. Yeah, I wonder if they thought that Magnum Hut... Or rather, I wonder if they thought that Horn was able to bounce anything, or if they really want to bounce their own Magnum Hut. Either way, we're going to fire off Skybird here, which is going to prompt them to use, wow, everything they've got left. Sting, Golemel, and Phimena all in the same chain link. This is really good, by the way. You definitely want to see something like this when you know your opponent's got all that disruption. Oh, okay, so they added Albaz so that way they could fuse from hand using Phimena and make branded stuff on our turn. I guess that makes sense. They're going to go for Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. And we get to pop the Lubellion in the same chain link. That means it doesn't get a chance to activate. In case you're wondering why our opponent is not summoning a Mirror Jade or something like that right now. Alright, so we're going to go for a Link Kuriboh and then link it off with the Kirin. Going for a Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy. They're going to use Golemel effect in order to revive. Then we can use Dark effect in order to revive their Magnum Hut. We can't even get the effect for ourselves before linking off Magnum Hut and Dark into the Promethean Princess. Who, of course, is totally generic, so even though we use Dark monsters, we can still make her. We're going to revive new Garunix, then link into a Link 4. That's going to be our Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. Now it looks like we're going to overlay on top of the Raging Phoenix, and that's going to be for our Typhone. Typhone effect gets to activate here, bouncing the Arthelion, and then we can simply battle over the Golemel. Of course, Typhone being up also means that our opponent won't be able to activate Arthelion as long as it's on the field moving forward, which is a pretty huge blow to Dracotale's game plan. Now during their standby phase, we revive Ponix and Old Garunix. Unfortunately, Old Garunix will destroy our Typhone, so now they're free to use Arthelion again, but it's a mandatory effect, so... Yeah, they're going to go Lucius for Phimena, fusing for the Arthelion once again. Lucius plus 2 Malulu from hand. Alright, so they're going to get to set another 2, and they're going to activate Arthelion, targeting Magnum Hut and our Garunix. Of course, we get to chain Promethean Princess, popping Garunix as well as the Arthelion. And also by popping Old Garunix like that, it'll revive during our next standby phase, once again destroying all monsters on the field. So we have a setup for dealing with their board, assuming we live through this turn. Which isn't that big of an assumption in the grand scheme of things, considering that we also get to revive the Sacred Fire King Garunix and the Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, since a fire monster on our field was destroyed. That revives at 5,500 attack points. Garunix revives, gets to pop the Kirin from deck. Now Kirin gets to activate, as well as the Ponix that's in our hand. We're going to special summon Ponix, and then Kieran is going to revive the Ulcanix, which can then pop the face down Ketu they just set. We then get both Ponix and Ulcanix effect. Mind you, it's still our opponent's main phase. We can add another copy of new Garunix, as well as a copy of Fire King Skyburn. Alright, so they still get to activate a Rahu from hand. They're going to fuse Magnum Hut and Orgola into another Arthelion. Now, of course, Arthelion is once per turn, but they can still revive, and then they're going to use Orgola, likely to try to pop our Fire King Island here. Setting another Ketu. Oh no, they have to get rid of Sanctuary, that's right, because Sanctuary protects the island. But in turn, our Skyburn and Graveyard protected the Sanctuary. Alright, so they're going to go Ketu, add Pan, and then Fuse. Are they making, like, Secretarian here? What else can you make at this point? Ophilia Regis, that's right. I always forget about that one. Pan's going to activate, as well as Philia Regis, to banish the Promethean Princess. Of course, she'll have to bounce herself in the process. Pan is going to set another Rahu, popping the Raging Phoenix. And yeah, not much of a battle phase from the opponent. They're just going to battle over our Ulcanix. Wow, see that 5 times fast. And sure, they can add back Fine Mana with Orgola, but they don't have another monster to fuse with. Their face downs are Rahu and another Ketu, is it? All their trap cards are still in the graveyard, right? Oh no, they have the Flame. They recycled it. That's right. Looks like they're pretty desperate here, though. They're, I think, more than anything, just trying to cycle for another draw here. Yeah, so Old Garunix is going to revive, pop everything. That'll, of course, trigger our Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, as well as the new Garunix in our hand. Okay, so they do have a Malulu in defense mode. I actually kind of forgot until we top-decked Misk that we are on a Jirak engine here as well. We've been able to do all this so far just off the back of the Fire King engine. As they go to fuse with Malulu, we're going to Skyburn. They're going to chain Dracotail Phimena, but they've already gone through all of their Arthelions, right? Yeah, I think they realize they don't have anything worthwhile to go into here, as they're going to end up immediately conceding. Oh, it was time limit. Ah, better do it too. Wow, that was a very back-and-forth grind game. Excellent stuff. Thank you very much for that submission, Watchdog. We have time for one more. Let's finish off with that one. Okay, our last replay submitted to us comes from Timbo, who has a combo line with Red Dragon Archfiend going first against Sky Strikers. Full combo first turn, got all mana gates working, then OTK, my first successful end board. That's awesome. Of course, in not my latest free-to-play guide, but the one before, I showed off an example Red Dragon Archfiend deck using the structure decks. And I maintain that is still a very good starting deck to begin with here. And of course, Red Dragon Archfiend does have some more support coming out on the horizon. I don't know if it'll be like soon, but maybe. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to begin with Soul Resonator, and then we can use Bone Archfiend's effect in order to summon. Now, we sent a couple of pretty important cards to the graveyard in the process of doing that. Not only is the Crimson Resonator in there, I think that's actually what we're going to end up reviving here shortly, but also we have the Obsessive Uvu Loop in there as well, which is a kind of like informal, indirect piece of Red Dragon Archfiend support. Sure enough, we are reviving the Crimson Resonator with the Red Rising Dragon. That'll let us special summon Synchron and Vision Resonator from our deck. We're then going to Synchro Summon for the Scarred Dragon Archfiend, which we can then Synchro with the Vision Resonator in order to make the Bestial Dissipator. Now, Scarred Dragon Archfiend and Vision Resonator both get to activate here. Vision Resonator getting to add a spell or trap card that mentions Red Dragon Archfiend like Red Zone, and then the Scarred is going to summon the regular Red Dragon Archfiend. Now we can Synchro Summon for 9, using our remaining Synchron Resonator, and that's going to get our hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. Now, Synchron Resonator effect can add back Vision Resonator, and then we can use the Obsessive Uva-Loop effect in order to add back by banishing Red Rising Dragon, then special summoning by banishing Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, Bestial Dissipator can revive the Red Rising Dragon that we just banished, and we can Synchro Summon for 10 yet again. This time we're going to make the hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. summoning Vision Resonator, we can now send that off with the Bane in order to revive Scarred Dragon Archfiend yet again, setting 2 and then passing. So we're going to end on the Bestial Dissipator, plus a whole bunch of really strong Red Dragon Archfiend monsters, as well as some associating trap cards as well. Does look like a very excellent end board here. Alright, so they're going to lead with Dark Ruler no more. We're going to chain Red Zone and actually end up using the effect here. So this was very, very smart. This was such a smart thing that we did here. So, when Red Zone is activated, right, it targets a card on the field and destroys it. We went for the Dark Ruler no more. Now, being a normal spell card, destroying it doesn't negate it. However, we can negate it with the hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. How, you might ask, because Dark Ruler no more says, neither player can activate monster effects in response to this card's activation. Well, we didn't activate a monster effect in response to Dark Ruler no more. We activated a trap card, and then in response to our Red Zone trap card, we then activated hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, targeting the Dark Ruler no more. Because there's nothing that says I can't activate a monster effect in response to Red Zone. So that's a very, very clever way of getting around this otherwise unrespondable negate. That's a very, very good play. That's advanced level stuff. I'm not sure if that's like a move you figured out yourself or saw somewhere else, Timbo, but either way, that was very well done. A lot of players would miss that, myself included. I bet there'd be a lot of scenarios where I'm not paying close enough attention, I end up missing something like that. Alright, thanks to the Soul Resonator, our opponent's Raigeki doesn't get to do much here. They're just going to set a couple of cards and then pass back over to us. During the end phase, we're going to Red Zone revive our Red Dragon Archfiend. And we've got far more than enough attack points on board to swing in for lethal. We're going to do just that. Opponent's going to activate Joker's Wild. Wow. Wait, what does this do? During the main or battle phase, you can send a spell from your deck to the that mentions all of Queens, Kings, and Jacks Knight. This effect becomes that activated effect. So they were trying to add and then immediately summon one of their Knight cards. Okay. And they're also going to summon the Metal Reflect Slime to block one of our attacks here. But we can use Red Zone in order to destroy that after we've already also negated the Joker's Wild. So there we go. Now we can swing in. Our opponent only has one card left in hand, but it's not enough to stop us, and that is going to be lethal. That was a very excellent setup from turn 1 negates going into an OTK line. I think that was very, very well played. Good stuff, Timbo. Thank you very much for that submission, as well as everyone else who submitted for the viewer special. Even if you didn't get featured, remember that there's always next week and the week after that, so on and so forth. So you can just keep submitting there. And even, again, if you didn't get featured, we couldn't do the viewer special if people didn't submit. So submitting is a process that is always very valuable. And I really want to thank you very much, all of you, for your submissions. But that is going to do it for now. Let's go ahead and move on to our outro, where we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which, by the way, is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.